Hey, I'm going to read a thing that I posted to Facebook on April 7th, 2015. Okay. From Michael Clark, posted at 7:06 a.m. on April 7th. I wrote the following unedited to the folks over at the Next Generation with environmental activist and, quote, billionaire, end quote, Tom Steyer, an intended audience. I think he might be willing to bankroll some great activism and help break the silence about the climate crisis, and I hope that the words I share below. The following is a story. Most of it is completely autobiographical and factual, but I'm reserving the right to make shit up as I go along, and granting the right to others to take, borrow, steal, use, however their heart desires, the following words. Though they come from me, I claim no ownership, no copyright, no propriety over them. If anyone decides to try to profit from them, I will celebrate this choice and will likely continue sharing them in spite of this. I generally ignore copyright laws, as well as many other laws. As a member of this government and a constituent of our Constitution, I reserve that as my right to accept the consequences of my actions. I do, however, love connecting with people. And if anyone wants to connect with me about anything, please reach out, and it would be my deepest pleasure. Michael Joseph Maximilian Clark. Quote, Hello, my name is blank blank. And though I walked with these crazy folks with the Great March for Climate Action, and though I was arrested 3 times here in D.C., out in front of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, as well as in Maryland, at Cove Point, and in Watkins Glen, out in the shadow of the beautiful Seneca Lake. End quote. Thus began a speech you stand present for, unsure how you are here, but you listen in, curious. Quote, Though I did all these things, I once shared with my beloved family here a very true statement, and I meant it when I said it, and I mean it still, which is this. I, like most people, don't care that much about climate change. Now, when I first said that to my fellow climate marchers, it had the intended effect, which was to turn a few heads. I mean, they had seen me cry in front of a room of 100 Pennsylvanians affected by fracking and mountaintop removal while holding a day of sacred silence. They had seen me give myself shin splints walking 15 miles a day. They had heard my stories from communities as far and wide as Northeast Missouri, living at Dancing Rabbit and the Possibility Alliance, and living with primitive skills folks in the forest of Washington, and crying my eyes out walking up a hill because our world is dying, and it's because we don't have enough courage, culturally, to admit collectively what we are doing to ourselves in our home, and to repent of our participation, and to take action. Many times they heard about these things. So, what did I mean, and what do I mean when I say that I don't care that much about climate change? Do you really want to know? There are cheers from the meager crowd gathered in the gym at LA Fitness, where this imaginary speech is taking place. Somehow you, dear reader, dear listener, whoever you are, stand in the corner, transfixed. Who is this person? You ponder to yourself, a secret smile creeping up at the corner of your mouth. You suppress it. You've seen this before. It never ends well. And anyway, the speech is going on, distracting your phantom smile. Well, let me tell you a story, and maybe that will help you understand why I don't care much at all about climate change. So today we burnt about 90 million barrels of oil, and truthfully, helium, this daily global palliative for what pains us, all will someday kill us all, barring our collective action. But you know what? When I asked Siri how many people died today from hunger-related diseases, she said, mirthlessly, that about 21,000 people died today from hunger. Fuck that shit! She screams from the top of her lungs, startling even the rafters of this gym. The gym manager's heart skips a beat. Uh-oh, this isn't what LA Fitness is about. We need to wrap this up. But the crowd is wrapped, and he doesn't say a thing. This person stands before the crowd, openly crying. This goes on for a minute, and she then continues. Now, I've personally known 0 people who have died of food hunger. I think that makes me, in a certain context, your average privileged, racist, overeducated white person. And I am. But I, unlike most others of my sort, up until now, admit it. And I talk about it, and I want to rectify it. I apologize for my ignoring of my fellow brothers and sisters who are dying every day from lack of access to clean food and water, and I want to help. I'm sorry for ignoring you for so long. I'm sorry. She cries again, but only for a few moments, then recomposes herself. I have, however, personally known, she pauses, eyes moving up and to the right, and counting silently on her fingers. As I'm doing right now as I write this improvised thing. I've known personally at least 7 women who I talked with and got to know pretty well. 7 women who were raped, molested, or tortured. Amazing women, incredible women, beautiful women. Many who I know well and I love. Family, friends, strangers. And every 2 minutes, a woman is raped in this country. And that's just in this country. And I've known friends who didn't have a roof to sleep under, and I've met little children whose parents weren't legally allowed to be here, and I've met families of laborers who worked under the harshest conditions picking the lettuce and strawberries that so many of us choose to consume in this country. And I've met elders all but abandoned in their homes and nursing homes. And I've met countless hordes of people who, to my eyes, seem numb, confused, lost, depressed. If I say I don't care that much about climate change, it is because it is the boogeyman which lurks in the corner created by our ignoring of these daily crises. And this very real boogeyman does creep closer daily, but daily my beloved friends continue to experience such things as I mentioned, and never will those things stop mattering. Our crisis is every day, but collectively, we seem to be pretending like that's not true. We've been a country of people pretending that our brothers and sisters aren't suffering under our very watch. We've been a country which celebrates but does not mourn or speak honestly about our failings. We've been a country which speaks out of only one side of its broken face. She pauses for dramatic effect and then continues. There's something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there? She pauses and looks out. After about 10 seconds, she continues. No, there is nothing wrong with any of us. That's one way to look at it. In a certain context, everything is wonderful. And this idea simultaneously terrifies some while simultaneously being the good news. The good news is that America is a great nation of wannabe liberators of the highest order. The good news is that Americans are a loving, kind, gracious, generous people. And it is also true that in America, every 2 minutes, a woman is raped. And 70% knew their attacker prior to the assault. How can I say that there's nothing wrong with any of us? What I mean is that I believe that the way the person who commits the rape, as well as the person who is raped, I believe that both are acting essentially rationally, namely in ways that are understandable and sadly, tragically predictable. But that also means that these are preventable and that we can fix this. And in ways that when you get down to where the rubber meets the road, these individuals, so to speak, they're acting in what they perceive to be their own best interest. How can you say that? You must be crazy. I need to shut this bitch up. Fuck her. She pauses again. Wow, y'all are a very Socratic and aggressive audience. Thank you. He chuckled or heard at people who understood the reference. But I'm going to choose to not go into my defense of the abuser, the batterer, and the rapist right now. I'll leave that for another time. I know that I'm the one asking these questions of myself anyway, and I appreciate myself for that, because it allows me to spiral deeper and deeper into the subject matter. Doing so, I hope that I and we can discover some perspectives which, if disinterred and aired out, and shown the light of day, might help us see things collectively in a way that might help us shift these horrible statistics. Because some of the things that I don't see or even hear about in our country these days are these. I don't see Americans in the street on the 4th of July celebrating our participation in genocides and for toppling dictators. I don't see people openly disrespecting our veterans or women or children. I don't see people cheering on that folks are starving or being raped. I don't see people celebrating that we're heating up our planet such that we might not leave a livable one for our 7th generation. I've seen people from every side of every spectrum and belief system, from mother stappers to father rapists, who want a world that works better for everyone. And that's incredible, beautiful, good, and holy news indeed. But so what? What does that change? Everything's still screwed up, right? A long pause. To those who might say something like that, I offer this. You sound like you're in a lot of pain because of how much pain we all collectively have endured. And it sounds like you're exhausted from all the stories of failed attempts to fix things. It sounds like you have a huge need for healing and hope and effectiveness, and maybe also for your own contributions to our world to be seen and respected, and maybe for your own contributions to be more meaningful. Maybe you would want to be better utilized for your gifts and your own creativity. And I would love it if you would please let me know if it's anything like that. Now I know that right here in this LA Fitness, I can't hear from anyone who might hear these words, especially since I'm not really here, but really my words are being written down in an email to some folks online. But honestly, I want to hear back from you about my guesses above and about anything that I've said here, because my words, this right here, they're not my words. They're our words. And this right here, this is just a beginning, a dramatic way to introduce myself, if you will allow me. Voila! In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. This visage, no mere veneer of vanity, is a vestige of the vox populi. Now vacant, vanished. However, this valorous visitation of a bygone vexation stands vivified, and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance. A vendetta hell is a votive, not in vain, for the value and veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and the virtuous. Verily, this bourgeois of verbiage bears most verbose. So let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me Amanda.